Okay. Or hi everybody, we are live. We are live. What is happening? Good evening. Good evening. Somebody needs to mute themselves. Good evening and welcome to Kiki Conversations, Thursday, November 12th, the week after the United States presidential election. Have you all survived election? Has everybody survived the election?
Yes, we have survived, and we're here to talk about it.
Trial isn't over yet. I heard there were recounts happening. What? We have a new president yet?
Yeah, right. Is he's president? We have to do a recount in. Listen. Hi, Jim. Hi, Treese. Hi, David. My regulars. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Hi, Sue. Sue is here. You guys can go to my Facebook or go to your Facebook page, my Facebook page, and share it. We're on YouTube. Kiki Conversations has a page. I thought I sent y'all the link. Anyway, that's okay. It's all good. It's my fault. Where's Lanisha? There she is. Good evening. Hi, Raven McMillan, my daughter, son. I just left you. Hi, Ken, Sue. I'll show you guys some of the comments that are coming in. Hi, Brittany. Good evening. Good evening. So how was things in Portland during the election?
It was, it was quiet for a while, and then we saw a little bit of protests, a little bit, there were some people out in the streets, and they were having a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Partying, I'm sure. Welcome. We have Lanisha again. Welcome everybody. So good to see everybody. Antonio, Amani. I know Raven, not my daughter's son. The Raven McMillan, who's a fantastic soprano, is playing Peter, the young boy in Snowy Day that premieres next year in and Houston Grand Opera. And so, of course, she's a soprano, but she plays the boy. So she's my daughter's son. Edwin, you got some love. Hi, Chantal. Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday. So, I will introduce you all to the 2021 Portland Opera Resident Artist Program. Artists. Yay! We have soprano Lanisha Crump, mezzo-soprano Jasmine Johnson, tenor Dave Sanchez, baritone Michael Parham, and bass Edwin Davis. So good to have you all here. How you doing today?
Great. Doing all right. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to first start to introduce you guys to them. Lanisha Crump is a soprano from Washington, D.C. She just recently completed an engagement at the Metropolitan Opera in the Ensemble and Porgy and Bess. Sydney, the American Execution and Prototype, and was at the Aspen Festival and sang also at Carnegie Hall in the Song Continues series. Is that Stephen Blyer, Lanisha? Oh, I didn't hear her.
So we are all struggling at the moment because our hotel that they put us up at, their Wi-Fi went out. So we trying to use our cell phones at the moment. So yeah, we were trying to connect and like, wait, what's going on? So we all just kind of found out my phone was way too slow. That's why Jasmine and I moved over here to this other place in a conference room somewhere. So
okay, that's all right. We're gonna go with the flow. We're gonna go with the flow because you would not be the first time that something like that has happened. So no worries. Jasmine Johnson is a mezzo-soprano. And where are you from, Jasmine? It doesn't say San Francisco?
So I'm originally from Houston, Texas,
by way of San Francisco because I went to the San Francisco Conservatory.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I got a chance to meet you singing. I forget what. Yes. Beautiful, beautiful soprano. She has an MM and a BM from San Francisco Conservatory and something else?
A BM and MM and a postgraduate.
Got it. Dave Sanchez, tenor from Kansas City, Missouri. Yay, Kansas City. I love Kansas City. Good barbecue.
Yes, that's everything.
Yes, everything. He, along with Lanisha, was in the ensemble for Porgy and Bess at the Metropolitan Opera. Got to sing Rodolfo in Bohème, Tony in West Side Story, with City Opera. And you are also a former apprentice at the Sarasota Opera, Des Moines.
Hi, Des Moines. That was a fun experience. Got to work with Christine McIntyre on Billy Budd. That was definitely a highlight there.
Yes, we love Christine. We love Christine. And you have an MM from the University of Missouri, Kansas City Conservatory of Music and Dance, and a BM from William Jewell College?
Yes, William Jewell. That's my undergrad. Hi, everybody. If anybody is here from Kansas City, William Jewell. They're famous for the Harriman Jewell series, which gave Pavarotti his American recital debut. So there's a good little feature in the latest Pavarotti film.
Wonderful. All right, William Jewell College in Liberty, Missouri.
Yes.
You out. Next, we have Michael Parham, baritone, one of my favorite baritones. Hometown is Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he's been seen as Count Soprano and Rigoletto at Opera Las Vegas, Alfio and Cavalleria Rusticana, and Peter and Hansel and Gretel at Opera Las Vegas. Wonderful. And you went to school where? At the famous...
I went to the illustrious Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yes.
Home of Angela Brown and Brandy Sutton. Shirley Barrett started there and then transferred to Juilliard. Not a big deal. So I'm an Oakwood graduate, and I went to the University of Nevada in Las Vegas for grad school.
Wonderful. Where we have our friend Alphonse as a professor.
Yes.
And my friend Karim Casper, right?
Yes, love them.
Yes, wonderful. And Edwin Jamal Davis is a bass from Utica, Mississippi.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And I have to say, I have to give a shout out to Jackson State University. But Miss, I'll let you talk about JSU, where you got your bachelor's degree in biology.
Mm-hmm.
How you want?
I majored in originally I was a chemistry major, and then I switched to biology. So I did double minors in chemistry and music.
Wonderful. And you got your master's at Manhattan School.
Yeah.
Yes, and you've been seen as Simone and Johnny Stinky with Mississippi Opera. And what's this? Will and Brother Not Rise, Revolt, Redemption at Boston Paramount Theater. What was that?
So Leanna and Jabari Asim are playwrights based in Boston, and they got together with pianist Alyssa Jones and Damian Sneed, and they created a music score to the play that was written called Brother Nat, Rise, Revolt, Redemption, about Nat Turner and the slave revolt. And they did a showing at the Paramount Theater in Boston to try and get it picked up by some other organizations, and they got a lot of press for it. It was an awesome experience.
Fabulous. It seems like a really good piece. You got to slide me the score so I can check it out.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so happy to have you all here, and you guys have so much love coming your way from the audience. And we're going to get Lanisha in eventually, but please welcome my illustrious panel here. So happy to have you all. So I'll start with Dave. Dave, you tell us how you came to opera.
I came to opera a funny way. I always loved the music. I didn't really know where it was from, but I came to opera from musical theater. Kind of what had originally happened was I was in high school. We were doing, like Les Mis and The Sound of Music, and then someone was like, maybe if you got some training in that voice, we could, like cast you more. There was a lot more to that little statement, okay? But yeah, I fell in love from musical theater. I started taking voice lessons from a classical teacher. And then I was like, wow, there's drama to this music. And I love me a good story. So that's kind of how I ended up in opera. My first opera I saw was Barbara of Seville, which is something I got to do recently with the same company that I got to see it at, which is really cool. But I don't know that hooked me on opera as much as seeing as much as everything else I had seen before.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jasmine, since you're sitting there?
How did I get my start?
Well, how'd you find the opera? How'd you come to opera?
Well, yeah, opera, it was, I was singing in church at first, of course. And then my mother, when we moved from Louisiana to Texas, I was in a different school system. And so they were only singing choral music. And I joined the choir because I love to sing. And my choir director pointed me out. He was like, you need to take voice lessons because you're going to be a professional opera singer. And that was really just me getting thrown into opera. I had no idea. I never had even heard an opera before. But then I started, finding things around Houston. I didn't realize how, involved Houston was with the arts and how big Houston Grand Opera was. So I started just putting myself out there, doing competitions. And then by my senior year, I was in Houston Grand Opera High School Voice Studio. So from there, I was able to, so many doors were open through that. I was able to do Young Arts Miami. I was a winner in the classical voice in Young Arts Miami. I went to Miami for a whole week, paid for it through Houston Grand Opera. It was the best. It was the best thing I could have asked for. Nobody in my whole town of Katy, that's where the suburbs of Houston, had never even sung opera before. So they came to my school and rewarded my school for producing me and letting me go to this competition. It was a lot of fun. But after that, I just did college auditions, and that's how I landed at the conservatory.
Fantastic. Oh, that's a great story. We got somebody tag Houston Grand Opera and shout them out and let them know that they're homegirl. Some fantastic voices come from Houston and Texas. And brilliant, brilliant. How about you, Michael? And we're going to add Lanisha on. But how about you, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. I come from the choral tradition as well. I started at 8 years old in the Chattanooga Boys Choir and sang with them through high school and traveled. And then in college, I initially was focused on, doing something I thought would make more money. So I was looking at biology and economics. And when I got I started off at Wake Forest with Richard Hurd. The late Richard Hurd was my first collegiate voice teacher. Mm-hmm. And he saw something there, but I wasn't really sold on opera. And I ended up transferring to Oakwood. I was studying biology. But I still had a voice teacher, Julie Moore Foster, who recommended I do the Manhattan School Summer Voice Festival at the time, under the direction of Chris Cano, and we were doing La Boheme, and I sang Sonar, which is my first role. I had never taken Italian diction. I had never taken really a lot of musical classes, but I couldn't find my way around the piano because of just the intro to musicianship class. Mm-hmm. And it was very stressful. And I remember coming into the first music rehearsal, not understanding you were supposed to know your music at that point. And so the next 2 days and weeks leading after that were very humbling and frustrating. But after opening night and after singing that role once on stage, I was addicted to opera. And I knew I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And thenceforth have been, out here hustling and studying and learning more and more. And I'm loving every second of it.
Amazing. That's fantastic. I love to hear this word. And I love Oakwood. So many singers.
Angela, I love Oakwood too.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Brilliant, brilliant. How about you, Lanisha? How'd you come to opera?
Hello, everyone. I was in junior high school and I remember I wasn't really familiar with opera at all. And I just knew that I could mimic those sounds. So I kind of started playing my friends' names. And then it was like, do my name, and then do my name. And then going into high school, I auditioned for Ellington School of the Arts. And where I thought I was going to be singing like R&B, I just knew I was. We were introduced to Harry T. Burley and German theater and 24 songs and arias. And I remember that I had that voice. I started to, Dusty Norman was my first inspiration. And I heard her sing Ride on King Jesus and also Dido's aria. And from that moment, that was something I wanted to do. And I started to learn the beauty of the music and the history. And then, from there, I was like, I was solidified in where I stood. I chose to go to Oberlin and continue to, further my studies at Oberlin, where I got my bachelor's. Then I went to Mannes and got my master's. And I just kind of been riding with opera.
Yeah, I remember, if some of you know the YouTube video that's up of me teaching a masterclass at Oberlin, Lanisha is one of those sopranos that was in that video singing Lohengrin, Einsam und trüben Tagen. Yeah, and so that's where we met. And gosh, how many years ago was that?
8, 7, 8.
Oh my gosh. See, you never know, right? You never know how your paths cross and how they stay connected, or all that stuff. Yeah. How about you, Edwin?
So I was a choir nerd, like in elementary, middle school. And that led me to be in the high school choir, where I met my choir director, Ms. Ruth Randall, who is a JSU alum as well. And she was like, I was also good at mimicking, but I also was able to access each voice type rather. So I was able to access the further extremities of my range, top to bottom. So she used to have me bouncing around the choir. I would sing soprano one day, I would sing alto another, I would sing tenor. And then she heard me vocalizing one day, with the choir. She was warming everyone up. And when she got to the basses, I was still a tenor at the time. She kept, she was still vocalizing down. And she's like, where's this sound coming from? She looks over at me, and she had vocalized me down to a low C. And this is when I was 14. She's like, what? What is happening right now? So she was like, okay, you probably should consider studying music. And I really didn't give it any thought, because I was definitely pressed about going to school to be a neurosurgeon. So then I stuck with choir until I got to college, where I met Dr. Phyllis Lewis Hale. And I auditioned singing Deep River by H.T. Burley. And she was like, you have to study voice. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, you have to study voice. And she was on me like white on rice, as we say. I mean, she was persistent. She's like, Edwin, you can't let that voice get to waste. So I went to a concert that she gave, her and Dr. Karen Labengeyer, and she sang Quel bel sogno di Doretta. And oh my God, hearing her sing, I literally felt like I was melting into my seat. She was floating all over these high notes and lilting. The voice was just so smooth and luscious. And I saw this woman walk out so astute and beautiful, and sing this music that I'd never heard before. And I was just like, what is going on? And I went up to her afterwards, and I was just like, I have to do this. I have to do this. So she took me under her wing, and she started working with me, and she stayed on me. She's literally still like a mother to me. And here I am. I got a call from the choral director at Mississippi Opera when I was a junior. And he originally had asked Dr. Hale, he was like, I really want Edwin to do something in Johnny's Kiki. Do you think he would be able to? And she said, well, I think you should ask him. So he asked me, and I ended up doing Simone, and that was my debut role with Mississippi Opera. And from there, I was like, okay, I want to do this because I'm singing with people that they had flown in from New York. These other people who had sang on international stages, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to do this. Like, I'm 20 years old up here with these people who are twice my age, who have been singing for the amount of time that I've been alive. And for me, it was just like, okay, I have to do something with this. So then I ended up at Manhattan School, and now I'm here.
That's an amazing story. And you, Miss Hale, Dr. Hale, definitely is I've known her for many years, is a wonderful woman. And she was right. You have to do something with that voice. Tremendous talents. And I wish you all could hear them, but that's for another time for sure, that we want to get to know you all. But these are phenomenal young singers. Michael, tell me what was your first live opera?
My first live opera was Tosca. When I was in the voice choir, I think at 10, I was an acolyte in that show. And what opera of Chattanooga Opera in Tennessee, which is now defunct. But at the time, that was my first time singing opera, and I was in the opera. So
wow.
It was great. It was so much fun. I still remember the music from that scene.
And as an adult, what was your next experience in opera, and what was that like for you?
Oh gosh, yeah, no. See, it was me. So the Aeolians, the Oakwood University Aeolians, were on a northeastern tour during spring break, and we had a pit stop in New York for a few days before we sang at Yale. So it was me and Whitney Morrison, who just finished at the Ryan Center, and a few others of our friends went to see Romeo and Juliet at the Met. And we had great seats, and I think we didn't have a lot of exposure to live opera in Alabama besides what we were doing. So to be there at the grandest house in the world and seeing Romeo and Juliet, I think for the first time in my life actually gave some reference to what I was getting myself into. At least from, and I was like, and I remember Whitney said the same thing. She's like, oh, we can do this. And I was like, yeah, I think so. I can't even recall who the cat was in the cast, but I remember how beautiful it was. And to see that set at the Met was just, such an amazing experience. And I couldn't even read what was going on in the subtitles and subtitles because I was just so involved with their acting and their singing and the orchestra. The Met Orchestra, when you hear them live, there was nothing like that. So yeah, that was my first time as an adult saying that.
Wow. How about you, Lanisha?
My first opera was Suor Angelica. I was actually Dolcina, which is a smaller role, but I enjoyed it so much. I was just so happy to be in an opera, and I remember I had the apple on stage, and you could see the mist from the apple just flaring out in the lights. It was so memorable. And then I was able to cover that role of Angelica about 3 years ago with Prelude to Performance, Martina Arroyo's program. So it was just amazing to have been in that place and kind of vision myself one day. And then that day finally came. And then I do, dream of the day where I actually will be the title role of Angelica. But those are my first memories of being in an opera.
That's beautiful. And you will be, and you will sing whatever roles you want to sing and the roles that suit your voice so beautifully. Absolutely. I can see you're so sweet. You'd be a beautiful Angelica. Actually, very heartbreaking, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Dave, and then Jasmine, since you guys are a duo?
Do you want to go first?
Oh, sure, I'll go first. So my first opera that I was ever in was Amal and the Night Visitors. I was the mother. I was singing some higher rap back in high school. That was my first. No, in high school, yeah. I did an opera in high school.
Dave?
I guess I want to say the first opera I was in wasn't anything super memorable because I can't remember the name, but the first opera I remember like doing was Johnny's Kiki.
Johnny Scott.
Yes, of course, kind of hard, but yeah, it was in my undergrad. I got to sing Renuccio. We did it in English, so that was a new experience from hearing all the recordings in Italian, everybody interpreting in Italian to then singing it in English and finding out what that means.
What was the first
it was a
opera
lot
you
of
saw on
fun.
the stage, though? What was the first thing that saw on the stage?
Oh, it was definitely
Seville.
Barbara of Seville, Opera
Yeah.
of Kansas City. I was a baritone back then, so that was what I was singing. Little did I know at the time that would leave that far behind me as a tenor. But yeah, it was just so much fun, and I just remember lots of colors and of course the tunes.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, the first opera I ever saw. That was the question. Sorry.
Yeah, Lanisha changed the question, but that's okay.
The first opera I ever saw was Figaro at Houston Grand Opera. I remember it was Anna Maria Martinez.
Oh,
Anna Maria Martinez. Yes, she was performing a lot during that time with Houston Grand Opera. And that was such an amazing performance. I remember thinking, wow, opera is really like a soap opera. It's like really like crazy drama. The drama was crazy.
Exactly. How about you, Edwin?
The first opera I was in was L'Elisir d'Amore, Donizetti, and I was in the chorus with some of my other friends at Jackson State with Mississippi Opera, and we were so enthralled to be there. It was so much fun, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I need to like be up here doing this like everybody else. But that was my first opera. And then my first full opera as an audience member was, oh gosh, it was Bohème at the Met. No, it was Don Giovanni at the Met last year. That was my first
Wow.
That was my first time actually sitting in an opera, watching and not participating.
Yes.
So it was last year. Peter Mattei was Giovanni, and oh my gosh, it was a great production.
I'm sure that must have been overwhelming to be in that incredible theater as a mature singer. You know what I mean? As someone who can take the whole experience in. Not it's like when I went to my first opera, I was 16, and there's a different experience that you have when you're young versus when you're older. And the magnitude of the moment, and you can really visualize yourself with your instrument singing on those big stages like that. It's tremendous. And so we are in this time of COVID, right? And like Dave and Lanisha and myself, we have just come off of 6 months at the Met, right? And Porgy and Bess, and then the whole world shuts down. And so what were you guys doing right before COVID and throughout COVID? Michael.
I was on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble the week before everything shut down. So our last concert was supposed to be at Syracuse University, and we ended up having to stream it from the performance venue because Syracuse was shutting down. And then I was headed back to the city, and I went to the city and flew immediately to Detroit to see my boyfriend. He's at Michigan Opera Theater right now as a young artist. And I spent 2 months there. We ended up going hiking in Yellowstone for a while. And then I went back to New York, and I was working, and I continued taking lessons during quarantine with my teacher via Zoom. But besides that, well, once I could go back into the office working a little bit, but for a while I was just twiddling my thumbs, and then ended up doing an amazing project before I moved here with City Lyric Opera. We were doing a 3-penny opera, and that was so much fun. And it was also a Zoom production, but we did it on a movie set, so that was really cool. But in between those two projects, there was some backpacking and there was some twiddling of thumbs going on, and a lot of driving my neighbors crazy when I had my lessons.
Of course. They just have to take it. How about you, Jasmine? What were you doing right before COVID?
So right before COVID, I was preparing for auditions because I had just graduated from the conservatory and I was getting ready for auditions. And yeah, COVID happened. So during COVID, I was planning on creating my own recital series. I was gonna do an outdoor series for people. We couldn't be inside, right? So I was gonna do an outdoor concert series where I just meshed a bunch of different genres of music that I love together. And I was kind of gonna have like dry theater scenes in between. Like I was gonna speak and do transitions and show how different opera pieces are related to musical theater pieces. Like Rent and La Boheme. Doing pairings like that. But then, of course, I got the call to come here, and that's where I am now.
Wow. So you were doing that during COVID as well.
Yes.
Right. And Edwin, what were you up to?
I was also on tour with the American Spiritual Ensemble.
Right.
And I got back and I went to DC that weekend to visit my old roommate from college. He was coming to DC, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 4 years. So we went to link up, and then the world shut down over the weekend. So I stayed in DC at my friend's house for a month and a half, literally sitting there trying to figure out what was happening. I was terrified, of course, paranoid.
Of course.
Didn't really know what was going on. And I had also been waiting on some leads with another organization that I had been offered a job with, but then that caved toward the end of the summer. So I was kind of just I don't know what's happening. And then I started applying for jobs back in corporate worlds. And then I had actually gotten a job offer that I was looking for when I got the call to come here, and I was like, "Oh my God, what do I do?" So I was actually about to be back in the medical field again, and then I got a call to come here, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that."
Right, because these calls that come, either it's a job or a role that you always wanted to sing, or a conductor, or that you always wanted to work with, and you have to make the decision to go or to just continue doing what you want to do, and you understand that this life is very short. This career, this thing, and these opportunities don't always come. I mean, because you guys did not have to audition for the Pora. And before I get into what that was like, getting that phone call, I have to shout out Sue Dixon, because Sue was very, bringing Damien and I on as artistic advisors, and really charging us with finding African American talent, and being very, very intentional and very specific about giving this sort of opportunity to singers who would not have had this opportunity, be it COVID, be it, you're not in the tier system, which we could talk about as well, what that's like. And, she charged us with finding singers. And then when we started writing out our list and asking our friends, who can sing this role, who can sing that role, I knew some of you, but some of you I didn't know, and Damien as well. And, and Daniel, of course, Biaggi, who's our interim artistic director, with, calling and having conversations with you all about, whether or not this program was a good fit, or, what kind of roles you sang, and, whatever those conversations, were to bring you guys all here. So you get the call, that there's a possible spot in the Portland Opera Resident Artist Program. And what? Lanisha?
Oh my God. That day, like, it's nothing. I think I was like the guest room. I'm always in the guest room of my mom's house. And you called me, and I was so happy to hear from you. And you told me, are you interested? I was like, yes. Because I knew that I was just at home, and I knew that I was becoming out of practice because I wasn't singing. I was home, so I was with family. I was with friends. I was eating Sunday dinner. I mean, y'all know the life when you're at home. Just the idea, just the thought of like getting back into practice, getting back into my passion. I was just so happy. And me and my mom prayed. She was like, let's pray right now. We prayed that thing up. And even before it was really solidified, you know, I called you, I ordered my score. I just felt like I had to speak it and claim it. And it happened, you know, it happened. But before that, it was just like a flat line, you know. They were like, dang, is opera going to live? See another day? And before that, I was feeling at a place where, wow, it's about to be my time. I had a house audition at the Met. Like, I was auditioning for management. I had performances coming up. I had people that called me, be like, hey, you might be a possibility. This can't fly. Those got canceled. So I was like, all my confidence like started to decrease day by day by day. And that's what brought me to go home. So it was your phone call that really brought my spirit back and I got my hope up, you know. I got my hopes up, and I told myself that it was okay to get my hopes up because I was scared to get my hopes up, because I do that a lot, and then I feel like I should have did that. But this time I claimed it, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you. Thank everyone.
Of course, I remember. I think we had talked right after the Met, I think, and we were talking about repertoire and all that stuff, you know. And then when the opportunity came to have a soprano that could study cover Trovatore, you were one of the first on my list. And I called you, was like, can you sing this? Get your stuff together, you know, do this thing. But you know, it really goes back to meeting you 8 years ago and remembering your talent, you know, and remembering how, and you know, of course, Damien was in Networky too, and he knew you, and we you know, vouched for your talent, and so, but it was really about working with singers and seeing how flexible they are, seeing how positive they are, seeing how ready and hungry and wanting to do that, and it sticks with you, you know, and so to all of the artists out there, younger singers out there, remember, you know, you can't just take these opportunities and, you know, take them lightly when you meet artists, because you just never know. I mean, I live by that. You know, you never know where your opportunities will come from. You never know who's going to be on the other side, you know, giving you an opportunity with whom you'll be able to bless in that way. So nobody is a stranger that you meet, and no one is beneath you. You know, we must always treat people in, you know, in a very respectable way, because it sticks with them, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's very important. Yeah. So Dave, you get the call.
Yeah, so my journey, I think all of our little processes were different. Lanisha straight up got a call. It was, for me, it was Damien had reached out on Facebook saying, hey, there's an opportunity to sing at Portland Opera. I had no idea. I had no idea what the opportunity was, but I was like, oh my goodness, yes, during this time, you know, having any kind of work is such a blessing. And especially once I got to talk to Daniel Biaggi, he was like, "Would this work?" I'm like, "Absolutely." It was such, yeah. I don't even have words for how I felt. It was, I didn't ever think that I would be in a place to kind of accept it. You know, yeah. It just really caught me off guard in the most beautiful the beautiful way. I'm trying not to get emotional here because it really was just such a light. I think that I definitely needed, and I'm sure that, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that. You know, such a dark time for artists, not having work, not having income. You know, I'd had, you know, a few things on the schedule that got canceled, and I was like, wow, am I even going to do this? And then I was thinking, well, what if I don't sing? And I hadn't been singing, you know, as much as I should have been over quarantine, like most people.
Listen, quarantine doesn't count. The whatever happened right after quarantine with the singing, that didn't happen.
Right. And so, yeah, it didn't dawn on me fully until I've been here for a little bit. And I was actually just last night, I was thinking, I was walking through the halls after doing some practicing late, and I was like, they haven't entrusted us with this facility, you know, like at all hours of the day. We get like all the resources we could possibly need, you know. So I was just that's when it really set in, you know, like this is so much, you know, all the things. I talked to Daniel actually, because of course we've all had lots of time to think during quarantine. And I was like, what would I want out of a young artist program? I was like, I want voice lessons and coachings and dramatic coaching, diction and language. And yeah, we've even had some more stuff here than that. But all of those things that I just said were part of this program. And it was just like the fact that I was trying to put that energy out there, and I didn't even really know, but I'd taken time to really consider what that would look like. So many times the singers were told to write everything down. What do you want your career to look like? Write everything down. And this is a part of it, and something that kind of came to pass. So all of that to say, I don't know how to feel except for I was just like so surprised that something I really had thought of and put energy into came my way. I think that's really the biggest thing.
You and Lanisha said the same thing. You know,
anything.
Absolutely. The same thing, just in a little bit different way, but the energy, putting the energy out there, you know, with something, when it comes to the possibility, really putting that prayer or that thought or that, you know, into it and manifesting itself, you know, in a way. Please, Jasmine, tell us.
Come on.
So you called Cesar Ulloa. Shout out to Cesar, my amazing voice teacher of 8-9 years. You called Cesar and you're like, where's Jasmine? And he calls me and he's like, Karen is a part of Portland Opera. Can you do a thing? And I'm like, sure. Like, okay, it's COVID. We're doing stuff online. Like, yeah, I can do something online. You know, it's fine. And then, you know, you told me to send you a video. So I sent you a video and I was like, okay, well, she just wants me to send her a video. So I sent the video. And then Daniel Biaggi messages me and, you know, he offers me that. And I said, wow. Right? I was just like, wow. I mean, you know, just graduating, everybody's whole path was like, okay, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to, you know, a young artist program. Everybody's traditional way of being, you know, but I've always been a person to break out of traditions. But sometimes when things are calling you, you got to dive into it. You know, that's what I did. It was calling me and I said, I can't stay away from this. This is something that I need and this is something that needs me. So I was really just surprised. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know when I called Cesar, I was like, "Where's Jasmine? Find Jasmine." You know, is you're one of the as well one of the singers that have always stayed with me from the first time that I heard them, and I always wonder whatever happened to little Jasmine. You know, because you're so young. She's so young, and so anyway, I've always loved your voice, always loved your talent, and so I'm just glad you're doing this. It's very important. You know, Michael.
Absolutely. So I actually sang for Portland, I think in March. So when I advanced, I sang the first Met round in New York, which I did not want to do for all the obvious reasons. But I did it, and I ended up advancing. Praise the Lord. So Claire Burback, who used to be over the program and over Portland, hit up my manager, Eric Maggiore, and had me sing for them. And I actually sang for Daniel early on, but nothing really came of it. And I didn't hear it back because COVID happened. So I was like, okay, well, I had forgotten I sang for them, honestly. So in September, I was on set of the Three Penny Opera. We were wrapping up that week, and I get a text from Eric saying, "Yo, would you move to Portland?" And I was like, what? Because I was actually in the midst of looking for a new apartment in New York at the time, because my lease was up at the end of October. So I was like, yeah, they paying was the response. So that's how it happened. I was like, how do they even remember me? I had forgotten all of that. But I moved to New York with the goal of just getting to meet people and getting my name out there, because I came from Huntsville and then I was in Las Vegas, and I had been told by a director of a young artist program that I sang for after Las Vegas that he's like, you're fabulous, but absolutely no one knows who you are. And so there wasn't a good consensus about who I was. But when I moved to New York, I sang my first non-pay to sing was with Martina Arroyo and the Preludes performance. So Martina, Mark and Sadie Rucker, and the late Valerie Rifkin in all of my auditions going forward vouched for me. And that made a humongous difference. Just in a year's time, having those 4 people vouch for me and having their names on resume made a world of difference with who wanted to hear me, who was interested in me. So I started auditioning more, and after the Met competition and advancing, I had a list of people, more people than I expected, actually, now that I've talked to more people who vouched for me for this program as well. Because, Eric vouched for me, David Blackburn vouched for me. Like, people I didn't know were even speaking my name were out there vouching for me. So thank you to all of you all, because this program is a dream come true. I just turned 30. I'm just in my first really resident artist program. And I'm just so happy to be here and to finally have access to a lot of the things that I was having to pay a lot of money and couldn't really afford to do, but was doing. Everyone knows how much a New York voice lesson costs.
They don't. Not everyone knows, though. Not everyone knows.
If you need a reference, around $200 is like a safe bet if you want one of those the teachers, the girls.
$250, yeah.
Yeah. I was paying that weekly in preparation for the competitions. And I did not see, at the time, I didn't see where that was headed. I just knew I wanted to get better, and I knew that it was worth the investment in myself, that I was worth that investment. Even at the time, many other people didn't see that. So I'm glad now that they are seeing it, and that I'm in a place where I'm getting coachings and lessons, and from a really formidable group of people who are making it their duty to ensure that we have access to the best of everything. So thank you, Portland Opera, for the opportunity. I'm so happy to be here.
That's fantastic. I didn't know your voice, and I don't know if it was, I can't remember, one of our bass baritone friends, whatever, sent a video, I think, of you singing. I can't remember who it was, maybe Reggie Smith, I can't remember. Anyway, I said, how come I don't know? Why don't I know this young man with this gorgeous voice that's easy top? We want to know all the people who have easy top, all the baritones, and I mean, just spectacular. And I was a little bit like pissed that I didn't know you, but I'm so thankful that I do.
You now. Yeah.
Now we're family now, so exactly. But I just thought, wow, you're the perfect age and the perfect where you are in your development to get a program to take a program like this and just take it to the next level. And Eric Maggiore, like Russell said, we used to sing with Eric. Now he's a manager.
Right. He's amazing. Okay, I just told a quick story about Eric because I love him. How did I meet Eric? I applied for a summer program last summer, and he has a program in Italy over the summers. I had just finished up with Martina Arroyo, and I was just settling down in the city. And I had no money, of course. And Eric gave me a full scholarship to study with him in Italy and to have all those coaches from the Scala, to meet Michael Paul, Joel Martin, Mordell Filming, all these people. And he just took me under his wing and really gave me like my first introduction to New York. And it was amazing. I mean, I love that man so much because he made my first job in New York too. So I remember Courtney Carey had told me about Eric. He's like, if you know Eric, you know good people, because he really cares about young artists. And he 100% is taking care of me. So thanks, Eric, if you're listening. I saw him comment earlier.
Go
But
on,
I was
Majore.
lucky to have that. As soon as I got to New York, I had a mentor that was really taking me under the wing, and I'm lucky and blessed. I'm not lucky. I'm blessed in that way. I'm blessed in that way. Yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous, Michael. All right, Majore, you better go on it and just and pour into the next generation. You know, I think there is something to be said about particularly artists in my generation that a lot of us we like it's natural for many of us to pour into you guys and try to create opportunities and keep the door open in any way that we can. I mean, I know so many of my colleagues who are like, yeah, I'm mentoring this person, or I made a phone call with this person, or I wrote a recommendation, or I'm, you know, it's a constant thing. And it's not taking anything away from us, or we're not trying to get, you know, some kind of like clout or whatever. It's just something that you do. And it's not even about race or voice type. It's like across the board in a way. And I think that I hope that it stays that way. I hope all of you, when it's your time to do the same thing, that it's just a natural thing. And I also hope that, you know, younger singers in your generation understand that many of us really do want to help in any way we can. And it's not about, you know, there is that generational thing of like, you know, sometimes we are hard on y'all, but it's only because as you know, it's only because, you know, so many of us didn't get that kind of thing from people who, you know, who were above us, but also we understand the stakes in a different way because we're still doing it. And it's different getting mentored by someone who is in it and doing it at the same time that they're bringing people with them versus someone who's done or from a different generation pouring into you in a way. And it's not good or bad or anything like that. It's not what I'm saying, but it is something that is significant and different. So Edwin, baby, talk to me.
Well, when I got the call, I was in Atlanta visiting the same roommate that I went to DC to see. I was in Atlanta and I was sitting on the chair reading a book. Uh, I happened to check a folder on Facebook and I had received a message from Daniel Biaggi, and he asked if he could speak to me, and I gave him my phone number. He called me and he's like, hey, I am Daniel Biaggi, interim AD, and we are doing this in Portland Opera this year. We're looking for artists that are able to do X, Y, and Z. This is what we can offer you. And at first I was skeptical because it literally just came out of nowhere. Like, you know, I had never seen this man before. I didn't know who he was. And then, you know, sometimes, like, it's not very common that somebody contacts you with an opportunity like such as that. Like, this is literally you uprooting life and having to restart. So he said, I'll give you a few days to think about it. And then he called me back with more benefits, to say the least. You know, and immediately I said yes. I was like, I cannot turn this down. This is literally too good to be true. There is nothing more that you could offer me at this point that I could even ask for. So it was an immediate yes for me. And you know, I too had just moved into a new apartment in New York, and you know how that goes.
Yes.
So the housing market is crazy. You know, you don't hop on something, the apartment is gone the same day. So I had literally just moved into a new apartment, and I contacted my landlord. I was like, look, I just got a job offer out west, and I have to leave in like 3 weeks. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, but I'm gonna go, and you know, we can discuss something, but either way, I'm leaving. So we need to figure something out, and here I am.
Fabulous. That is fabulous. You
Yeah.
too. Were you there when I did the recital at JSU or no?
No, I was in my first year at MSM.
Okay.
One of my other classmates was there. You came the fall of my first year of grad school at MSM.
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, Edwin was there and didn't sing for me when I did the class. Like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
But no, I was, and when I heard your one of your videos, and then I got to hear you live in Portland, I was like, oh my God, this is this tremendous bass voice. Again, another artist that I'm like, I don't know. Another artist that I'm like, why is this kid not, why is he not in the track? Having the opportunities, you know, and I want you guys to talk about that, you know, because listen, we all know that everybody, it's a very competitive business, right? And there are lots of talent. When people tell me, I didn't know Black people sang opera, or I didn't know, you know, opera was a thing, and I'm like, everybody I know sings opera. It's like, I think it's in our orbit, in our world. It is, you know, so important. And so, you know, I don't know anybody. I mean, of course, I have my friends outside and people, but again, it's my world. And so, please talk about what that's like in the conservatory, in the pre-training program for the young. I mean, pre-training. Sorry, I'm jet lagged, so apologize. But the pre-training of being in a YAP, like, what is it like to be in these conservatories and feeling like you may not be getting everything that you need? Because when you get into the next rung, or you have to go to competitions and compete with other singers or other colleagues, and you go, oh, I'm not quite where I need to be, where you thought that the school could have aided you better, or the teaching or the coaching, whatever, could have been stronger, or that maybe the schools were too big, which is my thinking always, is that I think we train way too many singers in conservatory for the opportunities that are available, but that's another conversation for another day. But please talk about that, and what that's like when you see other singers getting opportunities and you go, wait a minute.
For me, it was like I didn't know what it was until I guess I came from I come from a different perspective on that point. I didn't know what it was to be singing while Black until I was in Porgy, talking with all my other, you know, singers of color, their experiences. And it was in undergrad, you know, I had an amazing program with just a few singers. And you know, I was able to do most everything, you know, that they threw at me. We had a really great, you know, performing arts series. I got to like watch like all these amazing artists like front and center. But you know, it took 5 years, I think, until I saw a singer of color on that stage who looked like me, and it was you know, Lawrence Brownlee and Eric Owens, given that the recital tour that they did. And I think that was actually after I graduated, to see something like that. But it wasn't until talking to my other fellow singers, my colleagues, people I met, you know, actually it was during Porgy, that I was like, the reason I, you know, we all, you know, see, you know, the power that a network has. And if you are not part of that network, if you haven't been afforded those opportunities, and it's not the opportunities, but you have to get into that network in the first place somehow, some way. For me, it was actually it was Robert McNichols Jr., Opera Theater of St. Louis, lyric opera of Kansas City. He's a baritone. He was the reason that I first got started in opera in any kind of professional way. He saw me during a master class that Daniel Belcher was giving at William Jewell College.
Danny, shout out to Danny. He's one of my.
Shout out to Danny. He's my teacher. He's my mentor. He has been such an amazing human for my career, my path. But it wasn't until I met, Robert McNichols Jr. He was the reason I kind of got involved in a professional sense in opera. It was the first, him, and in conjunction with Linda Brand at Lyric Opera of Kansas City. But it wasn't until someone looked at me and wanted to lift me up for who I am, not in spite of who I am. The reason I'm here, I was able to get that experience. Yeah, and then talking to my colleagues at Porgy, and talking and us sharing similar experiences, seeing people in places, and we're like, what in the world? But it was because we had never had access, you know, to that network that they got access to because they were the majority.
Got it. Anybody, please jump in and speak.
Yeah.
I mean, my experience, I'm gonna get real with y'all. So I I never felt seen in my conservatory experiences. I was never even in an opera at Oberlin. All my 4 years there, I never was in an opera. My first opera was actually at Mannes. So imagine the pain, imagine the tears, imagine the calls to my mom. I just, and I do feel like in conservatory, let's talk about it. They all have favorites. They all have favorites. So, and they kind of trust the favorite to do what they know the favorite will do. On the other side of that, there's so much talent just waiting to be, seen.
Mhm.
And, also given that same attention and training and development. And I received that from my teacher and maybe a coach, but not enough. I didn't have the whole team. I didn't have the whole team nourishing me, giving me that inspiration, those performance opportunities. I did not have that. And then I went to Mannes and I started to get that, and not even fully, but I started to get that. It was on my own it was on my own, like thinking like that this was up to me to do what I needed to do to be seen. And I feel like for the first time I was seen when I got to Venice. And even though it was a little role, it's like, okay, I'm doing scenes, I'm doing opera scenes. I mean, I didn't even do that. So I was so happy to just be seen, to just be given the opportunity and be like, see, I can do this. And, show the people that, look, there's talent in me, like, invest in me. Hello, over here. So I've always felt that way. And now, I'm just putting myself out there no more and without any regrets. I just feel like it became that time for me with like, Lanisha, you just got to do it yourself. Like nobody's going to do it for you, girl. You got to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Michael said, like we actually met, did Prelude. I went back and to be a part of the chorus in his production. And I just really thank Martina because she is the first one to see me. I said, she saw me. And that was, I know I'm about to get a little emotional. But
That's okay. That's okay.
that was the first time that anybody saw me. And but that was the first time anybody saw me in that realm. Like that was such a big responsibility for me. Like, and that's another thing. We need responsibility. We don't know what it's like to have true responsibility, to have chances to show the world yourself. So it was from that moment that I feel like my early career just started to jumpstart. And after that, I went to Aspen and then the Met, and every time I'm in an opportunity, I make sure that I make use of my opportunity. I make sure that I network. I make sure that people know who Lanisha Crump is. When I went to the Met, the whole staff knows me. The whole staff. I didn't play. My colleagues know me. I didn't play. I will speak. If I don't know you, I will speak. You will know me. So that's a part of my own personal development. Just putting myself out, working with people that I've never worked with, getting them to hear me, even if I never, work with them again. They heard me. Like you heard me, Karen. And sorry, y'all. I'm a big baby, but it all comes from a place of love. And that's just my journey. And I would just say to people who's going through the same thing, because I know I'm not the only one, just to keep going and just to keep doing it. Don't give up. It's there. Just believe in yourself and you can do it. Drops mic.
Yes, beautiful. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I'm a piggyback. I'm gonna keep it very real. I am the graduate of an HBCU, Oakwood University. I'm a very proud graduate of it. HBCUs are criminally underfunded. Their music departments are even more criminally underfunded. But at the time, I did not know what I didn't know. So I always felt seen at Oakwood. It was a very small department, but I never really understood how spread thin my teachers were. Your voice teacher is your diction teacher. They are your music lit teacher. They are your music history teacher. And they're your therapist, basically. And also your voice teacher. And so you can't really quite get into the nit gritty of any certain topic because they are just spread too thin.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have, and they also don't have the money to bring in people who are not going to work for free. So to have those top coaches who are not doing pro bono work, they can't afford to bring them down, and we're kind of isolated because there's not really a big opera house there. So there were many things I learned through summer programs that I was very blessed to be able to afford to do, where I learned a lot. I know Makita Hampton, for my second program, she recommended that I study with Alphonse Anderson at Ames. So I spent the summer at Ames, and I met Alphonse, and that's how I ended up at UNLV for grad school, because the people at Oakwood saw something in me, and they would always make sure to point me in the right direction. And he was the right direction, because I also applied for 2 other conservatories, MSM and SFCM, which I could not afford to go to. And and people didn't really know me there. And so I got no money. I couldn't afford to go. I literally could only afford to go to Las Vegas. And I praise God that happened, because it was a great segue. But the thing, it's criminal because there is so much raw talent at HBCUs that goes unnoticed and becomes underdeveloped. So when I hear, I'm gonna get pissed off. Sorry, excuse me, boss. Sorry.
Listen, so this is what we do here in conversation.
And someone said there aren't enough Black sopranos to do AIDAs at all the A houses. There aren't enough A-house quality Black sopranos to do AIDAs at every house. So we have to use, anyway, which leads to a whole other conversation about skin painting and everything else. But I had to vehemently disagree with them, because I've seen that talent and I've seen it go undeveloped and stay at the raw stage, because they didn't have the opportunity and the access to resources to help develop those skills that become an A-house singer. So
you know what, Michael? Meanwhile, we have colleagues out here who are getting paid to learn on stage, but we've not been afforded that opportunity. Period.
Yeah. I see so many mediocre singers from big universities get passed. In fact, I was also one of those mediocre singers a little bit when I did post-grad for a semester in Indiana. And all of a sudden, having Indiana on my resume was enough for people who had never wanted to hear me before want to hear me now. And I was only there for a semester. I'm gonna keep it real, because they didn't have what I needed besides the name. And I love my colleagues there. I think a lot of people graduate from there and do phenomenally well. For me, it wasn't what I needed in my development next, but I did need that name on my resume, because all of a sudden Aspen wanted to hear me, all of a sudden other festivals wanted to hear me, and I was using the same recordings that I made at UNLV. But having that name, that label, which does not necessarily mean you actually have the chops, but having that label was enough for some people, and just like, I'm like, Oakwood was enough. Having Oakwood on my resume was enough. The singers that come out of Oakwood are spectacular, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and that's a lesson. That's also a lesson about the business. I know professional singers go through that all the time. You get one person to give you a wonderful main house debut, and there could be 10 companies that didn't want to touch you, but the one company takes the opportunity, and you have a success, and all of a sudden you become the thing. But it's the business side, right? It's the ugly part of the business, the unfair part, that it's not personal, it's just business, right?
No,
but when you are learning and developing in your training, there's no room for that kind of.
Absolutely not. It's so limiting. And so I am very blessed, and I'm very privileged to be in this opportunity, to have this opportunity now. But I'm not anyone's overnight success. I've been at this game for 10 years since my first time I walked on the stage in St. Shonai. I'm glad that people are getting hip to me now, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities I'm getting, and I will not squander them. But this didn't just happen overnight. Like, oh, he's at Portland, so he's legit now. I was like, no, I've been at the game for a while, working towards every small step forward. Don't get it twisted. And I appreciate everything that I've learned along the way, and I feel mature and ready enough now to be in a program like this, where maybe I didn't have maturity to begin with, even though I had the raw talent from the jump.
Absolutely.
That I'm grateful for, because I had so many colleagues who were just passing by me as I was slowly walking, and they're all of a sudden not singing anymore because they're over it or jaded. So I'm now at the point, okay, yeah, I'm still amped, I'm still excited. My voice is starting to grow in the right directions. So I'm actually glad in retrospect that now is the time it's happening. That was ordained by God.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And Michael, thank you so much. And since we're talking about HBCUs, Edwin, can you talk about that? I mean, you don't have to talk about HBCU, but I want you to talk about your experience, because you come from it a little bit differently than the rest of the singers.
Right. So at Jackson State, like Michael said, Dr. Hale was the voice teacher, and she was also the pedagogy teacher. She was the diction teacher for Italian, French, and German. Just diction. She taught everything, vocal literature, and then she's being your counselor and your voice teacher and your mom, like, because because she was the teacher for performance majors, it was most difficult for her because she has all these people wanting to be performance majors, but there's only one her. And it's like, well, I can't teach 25 students, on my own and then like teach all of these classes too and grade and everything else. But in the science department, with me being dually involved with music as well as science, my professors were not going like at all. They Because like having a minor in music at JSU was honestly just like being a music major. I had to take all the core courses. I had all the theories, all the oral skills, all of the sight singing. I had to have the performance credits as well. So by the time I got to the conservatory, I knew, we got into grad theory. Dr. Hill was like, make sure that you know your grad theory. Because when you go to conservatory, these are people who have committed their lives and time to that particular subject. So you need to know the information. And it was so funny because, Dr. Hill definitely stayed on me. She's like, you're here at Jackson State. It's small. So you're a big fish in a little pond. When you get to MSM, you're in New York, everybody's a big fish. And it was so funny because I had that mentality that I have to always like stay on top of my stuff. So when I got to Manhattan, I literally texted her and I was like, I did all the work, but and what you said was true. All these people that I'm meeting, like all of my colleagues, had come from, they had come from Europe, studying at all these ridiculous conservatories in Europe. They've been training at this all of their lives. People who have been studying voice since they were 12 years old. And I got into grad theory and they didn't know anything. And I was a science major, literally doubling learning. I'm doing organic chemistry one day and freaking counterpoint the next. And the way I'm literally like in the lab at one point and having to leave the lab to go rehearse for an opera workshop performance or something like that, and then run back to a study session in the library because we got a chemistry test on Friday. Like, I got to conservatory and I'm just like, all of you all have been doing this for 5, 10 years and you don't know anything. But you can say, oh, I went to this conservatory, I studied with this teacher, I did this, I did that. Not only did you not know theory, you can't sing. And it literally befuddles me because I had worked, like I felt like I had worked my fingers to the bone trying to make sure that I was even able to be seen when I got into that environment. And it was a constant downplay. Number one, I was the only Black person that was accepted into my class coming in 2015. So I didn't feel intimidated by it. I was thankful for the opportunity and I acknowledged that privilege that I had for even being there. But at the same token, when I got in that space and saw how all the other people operated, I'm just like, wow, you all really feel like, to them, their world is only music. Music is the only thing that exists. They had their parents gave money, which is how they got to the school in the first place because they couldn't sing worth a crap. But they had scholarships, hefty scholarships. And here I come to MSM, you know, I had a decent GPA, headed to medical school, and I go to this school and I'm the only Black person there, and I'm getting cast in all this stuff, you know, which was overwhelming to begin with, because I'm literally coming from like doing very little to being thrown right out there and expected to deliver. And I had no funding whatsoever. I was not given any money to attend the school, but because the desire was there to nurture the gift that others back home felt that I had, I felt like it was something that I had to do for myself. So I took on the debt, and here I am, 6 figures in debt. And it's just like, why? You know, each time I'm sitting here and I go to an Italian diction class or French, or I'm going to rehearsal or something and seeing my colleagues, and they're getting up here, they clearly can't sing, and everybody's just like, you know, oh, you're so amazing, yada yada yada. And then I get up to sing, because nobody knew me. You know, a lot of them had also known each other too, when I got there. So nobody knew me. And the first time I sang for anybody that everybody was able to see was at an Eric Owens masterclass. And after I sang for that, everybody and their mother, oh my God, Edwin, oh my God, Edwin, oh my God, oh, you know, you're so amazing, all this other stuff, you know, and they're like, what are you doing? Where have you been? What have you been doing? Yada, yada, yada. Why haven't we seen you? And I was like, well, firstly, I was not given any of the opportunities that you guys had. I didn't even know about half of the things that I know that now after arriving here, you know, and suddenly a lot of that energy from, you know, trying to downplay me from being a little boy from Mississippi was like, oh, now we got some competition. You know, it was always like, we acknowledge you, but we can't like be too nice to you, but we got to be nice to you because you're a threat to us. So we're gonna like try to wheel you in to befriend you, but we're not actually your friends, obviously. um but yeah, there was a lot of politics, as we know, in a conservatory. I was often reprimanded on the staging side because I was not one to drink the Kool-Aid. I got there, I knew that I was there to do a job for my own personal growth. So I wasn't kissing anybody's behind. You know, there were certain directors and things that were there that flat out told me, you know, I'm not going to recommend you for anything for personal reasons. And for me, you know, like I told my mom, I remember calling my mother and telling her this woman just told me, oh, you know, if somebody calls looking for a bass, even though I've been to your performances, even though I know what you're capable of, I can't tell them, you know, anything about you because I haven't worked with you personally. So I don't really know like if that will be in my best interest to do so. And, you know, God works because the devil has been subdued. And I'll say that much. And, you know, I also had a lot of flack from other professional singers coming at me, you know, who had the opportunity to give me opportunities, and they chose not to because they felt like you know, they felt some form of, you know, they felt as though I did not know how to handle myself because I was not one to drink the Kool-Aid. And for me, you know, I told the people who were my tribe about it to vent the situation. But for me, it was, I don't need you. Now that I know that I am here to fend for myself, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do for myself to ensure that I get to the next level. So, all of those people who were telling me, oh, I'm not going to recommend you for this and that. Okay, fine. I don't need you to. And lo and behold, literally after I got out of that, you know, that safety net that school was, and actually started doing things on my own, other people started noticing me for my talent. You know, I get all these people coming in, and I have to give a huge thank you to Nam, because Nam literally, like, Nam has done so much for me as far as like providing opportunities, you know, for visibility. And I'm definitely grateful. You know, the Eatons, Patrice and her mom, they stayed on me about like getting things done. Anne Marie, Hudley Simmons, like all of them, they were always there, cheerleaders. You know, they were hard on me, but they were cheerleaders. And because of them, I got a lot of other opportunities, you know, for other people to see me. And then I I discount everything else that other people told me, because it's just like, yeah, you may say whatever you want to say about me not being prepared or me not representing myself in a certain light, because I choose not to participate in tomfoolery, but I refuse to forego, you know, myself and kiss somebody's behind for a job. I'm just not going to do it. And, you know, if you claim that I'm so talented, but you're still threatened by me presenting myself in the way that I am, then I don't need you in my life. I don't need you in my circle. I don't need you to do anything for me, because I need others who are able to not only represent themselves, you know, in their full truth, but also those who are actually going to uplift and try and push me to the next level.
Absolutely. Thank you,
So yeah,
Edwin, for being so honest and so real. And you know what keeps coming out, and Jasmine, I'm gonna let you speak, is that people feel unseen, people feel unheard, people feel like there's a lot of favoritism, which there is, and that people aren't worth it. I ain't Russell. But I mean, and we need to address this issue at that level, at the conservatory level, at the university level, at the young artist level, because then there is a whole other tier beyond school where people graduate from programs, and oftentimes the shiny penny, as I say, or the one is not the actual person that actually winds up going on to the next level. And you know what? And that's the business. Of course, we're in a business. We are in a business, but also these are people's real emotions and their feelings in their life. And when you say, and I'm thinking, and I'm hearing your voice, Edwin, and I'm like, this young man is in a six-figure debt with that voice makes absolutely no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to me. And that's why I say the system is not just serving the people that it should. But go ahead, Jasmine, speak.
I want to say I have seen everything my colleagues have been talking about. I've seen everything that you guys have been talking about. But honestly, this is where I put San Francisco Conservatory on the map, because my group of people, first of all, I want to say shout out to Heather Matthews, Daryl Cooper, Michael Muhammad, Kurt Payer, Jose Maria, my Lynn Pham, Cesar Ulloa, because listen, these people molded me. They showed me, Michael Horsley, Melissa Carey, they showed me how to be a performer. And Cesar kept it real with me the whole 7 years, okay? He didn't lie to me at all. He told me it's gonna be like this when you get out in the world. It's gonna be like this. Heather, she told me it's gonna be like this. Kurt told me, they told me everything. But I also performed since I got to the conservatory. Mm-hmm. So I can't, I can't say that I wasn't afforded opportunities, because I was performing the second I walked in there, from my freshman year all the way to my postgraduate. And it was to a point where I even got to choose, if I wanted to be in something or not, because I wanted to take time for myself or whatever. I put on recitals. I put on Black female composer recitals. They gave me, room to be myself, be full in my Blackness, but also be the kind of opera singer that I wanted. The conservatory creates opportunities for people that other schools don't. That's why I said I got to put my school on the map, because we did 7 fully staged shows, Baroque, musical theater, and opera. And if you didn't audition for something, that was on you. If you auditioned in any of those tiers, you were bound to get something. We had the composers writing music for us. We had the guitarists playing with us. We had everything. So this is just where I put my school on the map because, I got to perform. I can't say that I didn't. And they let me be me in my authentic self.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Jasmine, for saying that. Because oftentimes I feel the same way you did. When I graduated from Curtis, I had 8 roles under my belt going into Maryland. 8 major roles, all roles that I was prepared to sing in the main stage, right out of Young Artist Program. But it does not, and I went through the tradition. I told you guys, I went through the traditional American system. I, won lots of competitions. I went to Curtis Institute of Music. I went to Maryland. I was an Adler Fellow. My first professional, big job was covering at the Metropolitan Opera title role. So I am a product of the system in that way. But that does not mean that I can't look around and see that the system does not work for everyone. And also that there were inconsistencies in my development in that track. And so I have to be honest when I'm having these conversations and talking about how can, recognizing the stories that you guys are telling, people in the industry have no idea. They have no idea because oftentimes the focus is to just say the good things, talk about the positive things. But again, it's not about good or bad or positive or negative. It's about reality. It's about, are we doing the service that we're supposed to do for artists? Are we providing the things that we need? Are we being real about the amount of slots that are available and open to people? Are we being real with telling people it's not worth getting into hundreds of thousands of dollars a day with the idea that you may or may not have an opportunity solely because someone is like, well, I don't like this person because they don't kiss ass. That has nothing to do with it, And so for me, I just can't sit back and not give artists a platform to speak their truth and also to just acknowledge that we have to do better. We have to do better. No, we have to not do better. We have to. It's got to change. It's got to change, and it's got to be a whole new day. And while I'm not for blowing up the whole thing, I am for reform, for sure. And so talk about, we're already at almost an hour and a half. You're very welcome. I want you to talk about dream roles. We're going to get to something a little bit lighter. We're going to dream a little bit. We're going to have, say if everything was aligned and, you were in all the right spots in your voice, that all the things were happening. I want each of you to give me a couple of dream roles.
Okay. I have every single Puccini hero I want to sing. I want to sing Calaf as much as I want to sing Cavaradossi. I want to sing in Fanciulla. Every single Puccini hero, I want to be able to sing. I want to sing at some point in my life. I'm particularly drawn to his music. I think my number 1 is Cavaradossi. Number 2 would be Calaf, for sure. And then it's just kind of a mixture depending on the day, mood I'm in, for the rest. But there is just something so, I don't know. There's just something so magical when I got to see, I at least got to see the Zeffirelli Turandot at the Met. With one of my colleagues singing Liu, Gabriele Reyes. That was such a fantastic, beautiful night for opera. As maybe not everybody knows, I'm Afro-Latinx, so I am definitely proud of both sides of my heritage, absolutely. But it was so good to be there and to witness the magic, and then to imagine what it's gonna be like on that day. The Zeffirelli might be retired by then. I hope not, because I think it's such a beautiful, lavish production, and it will suck that, those things will only exist in live in HD, his productions. I hope that's not the case, but, maybe I'm not sure what production they're doing at La Scala because I haven't been there yet. But just opening night, it comes to Act 3, and you have all the tenors backstage, hearkening. And then the opening chords in Nessun Dorma. That, to me, is going to make my life. And then also to be on that stage watching, looking out to the audience. For me, it's always been it's been amazing. To me, that's the best seat in the house, okay, is on stage. if I could throw back time and be on stage with Leona Mitchell as she's singing Tanto Amore Segreto, honey, woo, that's the kind of stuff that gives me life. Also, can we just never do that second part of Act 3 that Puccini didn't compose? I hate it so much. I understand there his sketches in there, and if you compare the two sides and you compare the two that were actually completed that we know of or that we have in performance in any capacity, I just don't like either of them. It can end when you dies, honey. That's enough. It's just the music for me. It's the production, but Khalaf for sure to be that unknown prince and to get out there and to sing that music and to get to work with my colleagues as well. I'm sure that one day I'm going to hear Ms. Golden Melody, Lanisha Crump singing Liu, and if that voice decides to do Turn the Honey, then oh my God, both of those are going to be the most amazing things I've ever heard. But
absolutely,
it's Khalaf. Io son Khalaf.
Khalaf. Okay. Russell Thomas said he was supposed to be doing Khalaf at Covent Garden right now. Oh, Russell.
Okay, Russell, can we talk after this sometime soon?
We love Russell.
I'm obsessed with you. Absolutely.
You're a celebrity to us.
Let me tell you.
We can make it happen. We can make that happen. Lanisha, darling.
Okay, can y'all hear me? Because my acting up. Okay. I'm glad to be, covering Leonora. So that's definitely a role that I want to sing. So it's good that I get to study it and everything now.
In Il Trovatore, Leonora in Il Trovatore, yeah. There's a couple of Leonoras in opera. Just be specific.
Il Trovatore. Even though La Forza, look. I love Pace Mio Dio. Oh my God, it's the most beautiful aria to me. Tosca. I want to sing. So I know it's but it's a dream to me to be able to actually sing Suor Angelica. I feel like once I sing that, then I'll be fulfilled. And I actually want to sing a Mimi. I want to sing a Mimi. I want to be a Mimi. I'm ready to be a Mimi too. So those are my top 4. I think
Puccini. So Puccini is very heavy in this conversation. Michael, well, that's not a lot of baritone parts of Puccini, but some good ones.
Let's talk about it. I got my list up right now for y'all. Okay. Let's start with things that you all listening can hire me in tomorrow to sing. And vocally, I feel ready. We just get the score in front of me, I'll be good. Silvio in Pagliacci. Billy Budd in Britain's Billy Budd. Demetrius in Britain's Midsummer Night's Dream. The Da Ponte boys. So, Guglielmo, Don Giovanni. What's the other one? The Count. I'm ready. Okay? Mozart, I love my voice right now. It sits. And I'm loving it. It feels really, really good. On the Strauss side, I love Harlequin. Okay? It's a fun role. It has great ensemble numbers. In Turandot, I think Ping is a great role. It's also fun ensemble numbers. I think it's just a fun role that I would love to sing. And then once, so I love Mark Rucker and I love Ingvar Vixel. So if the voice, and a lot of baritones think that the voice may head the Verdi route later on, as a lyric, start off, Rodrigo is great. And later on in life, I would love to sing Rigoletto at some point. I was in awe when I got to be Michael Chioldi's Count Soprano when he came to Vegas. Yeah. And that was just a stacked cast, first of all. And that's a role that I absolutely love. And to hear Mark Rucker sing that down and around the corner is a blessing that not many people will unfortunately get to have in this life. If you have heard that man live, okay, a horn. And he's someone I've talked to about that, and him and Tim Noble, who was my teacher at Indiana. So later on in life, those are some of those I want to sing. But for now, you have the list, okay, y'all?
Listen, Russell says, smart man, you were prepared. Yeah. Listen, you're ready. And you can sing all those parts. Absolutely. I know that's how, all kinds of people watch this social. You never know. You never know. Yes. Edwin.
Okay. So I have a list as well. And my list consists of Mephistopheles by Boito, title role Want to sing it. Probably can't right now, but pretty close. The Grand Inquisitor. I feel like I can sing that right now. It's a very small role, but it's a very important role. In Don Carlo. Attila, which is also a title role. Some earlier Verdi. King Philip II for later on, also in Don Carlo. Commendatore in Don Giovanni. I can sing that right now. Ramphis and the King and Aida. Can sing those right now. Ferrando in Il Trovatore, which I am covering right now. So, and I'll be singing it. I'll be singing that aria for the Met Opera Guilds in February. So, Zaccaria in Nabucco, Don Pasquale, another title role. Baron Ox and Rose.
Yes. No, you're good.
What'd you say? Oh, Baron Ox in Rosencavalier. Leporello, also in Don Giovanni, which I could do right now, and Astur in Semiramide.
All right. Listen, the basses, the low voices came ready for they're like, we're ready to work right now. Yes.
Right.
Jazz.
I personally need some more time. So I'm a 26-year-old contralto, mezzo, whatever I am. So I would love to sing Carmen one day, of course. I saw Janae Bridges in it for the first time, and she was just amazing. I love Olga in Eugene Onegin. I love that role. She's, it's I've never really connected with a younger role before. So I think that would be a fun role for me to play. I also love the role of Lucretia at the conservatory from Britten's Rape of Lucretia. At the conservatory, we did the full Britten cycle, and that's what really trained my ear. And that was all the operas I was in. I was in Albert Herring, Turn Up the Screw. We did all of that. So I would love to do anything Britten. And I also would love to do new operas. There's this new composer. Her name is Maria Corley Thompson, and I'm going to be singing some of her rep on my recital. I'm so excited to perform her repertoire, and she's still living. She's Black and she's a female, and she is just about to take off. She's writing new operas right now, so I'm hoping that I could be one of her mezzos to feature one of her operas.
That's fantastic, Jasmine. Maria lives here, and she lives in Lancaster, I think. So she doesn't live that far from Philly.
Okay.
And, yeah. So I was actually wanted to work with her, but we both were so busy and things are happening. But I'll have to send her a little note that you mentioned. You shouted her out.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I have loved this conversation. I am so happy that y'all came and stopped past Kiki Convos to speak to us, speak to this audience, to teach us, to share your stories and your path. And I when I saw you guys when I came with, what was that, 3 weeks ago now? 4 months ago, and we were doing, we were sitting and you guys was talking about 5 weeks ago. You guys were talking about your journey and about, your desires. And I was sitting there crying to see you young, beautifully gifted artist with the passion and the desire to do this. And I've been doing this for quite a while, and sometimes I get jaded in my own way. And then, but when people talk about opera's dead and classical music, why, people want to do classical, and I'm like, I get to sit in front of these artists and to hear you all talk about your passion, your roles, and your love for opera. Nobody can tell me that opera is dead. No one can tell me that there are not gifted young singers who have a passion and a desire to do this for not just for a living, but for the rest of their life, And so it's like, sit in front of some young singers and talk to them about it. Give more opportunities. If it's not happening right in front of you, then you need to open it up and find more singers. Give them more opportunities. Sit in front of them. Let them pour into you for a change, instead of us always giving you. We need to listen more and take it in, and to, everyone's trying to figure out how to move forward in this industry, some of us need to just sit back and listen. Some of, not us, them need to sit back and listen, you know? And if anyone's listening to this and can make a difference in our change makers and decision makers and casting agents, whatever, if you've not got something that you can take back to your company or to your school or to your organization and be different, then you are not listening, you know? And so with these last few moments, I want you each to take the moment and to talk about what you'd like to see, what your future, your year. Let's just talk about your year first in Portland. You know, what you like, where you like to be in a year, and also what kind of industry would you like to see in the future? Now, don't preach, don't take a whole, don't sermon. We at the end of Sunday service. You know, when everybody's like, okay, I got to go, you know, I got to go put my food on. So just take the time. Anybody can start and jump in when you need to.
I'll start because I'm just ready. When I did Martina's program, it was an incredibly diverse cast. Every color under the rainbow was on that stage. And it was the first time I had been in a show where the cast looked indicative of the people who were preparing to take over this profession in the future. And the people who were in the audition rooms that not always getting heard and getting cast. And Mark Wicker just said, this is what the future of opera looks like. What you see on the stage, all these different colors and shades and voice types in traditional roles, but are being non-traditionally cast. That's what I want to see. And I want to see the audience also reflected of that. I think in order for this to continue and to thrive, like you said, you have to listen. You have to hear what the youth are saying, what those who are coming up, who haven't been on stage yet, but are looking to the stages and looking to the directors and looking to their peers that are outside of opera and are like looking at us like we're having the same 200-year-old conversation, crazy, like y'all are still worried about all that going on. Like we have to listen to those people and see like what's going on around us. Yes, opera is the suspension of disbelief, but our generation wants more than that now. We want believable stories. We want to relate to the characters on stage. We want to see people who look like us. Yes. And you're not going to get those audiences. You're not going to sell those tickets unless what is on stage is representative of what's going on in the real world. So that's what I want.
Yes, Michael. Thank you.
Dang, he didn't kind of spoke for everybody, didn't he? Dang, I don't know what to say, but I just want to piggyback off of that. Like, yes, I just want to see a world of opera with no restrictions, like where, you know, only the music matters, only the talent matters, only, you know, coming together and just making music matters. I feel like that's the only, the only thing that should matter. Like I've been told so many things. Oh, you got to be this, you got to be that. Like I'm ready for that to not even be a thing. I'm ready for every person of color to be accepted and not for it to be like a token or to be like, oh my God, look, we're doing this, so yay us. Like it should just be a regular thing. You know what I mean? So I'm ready to see that in the future of opera. I'm ready to see new singers who have never seen also get their shine, hear new voices, see bigger bodies on stage. I am ready for all of that. That's it.
Amen. Amen, Lanisha. Let me get my list in so y'all know what I'm ready to sing too. Okay, it's Ferrando and Coty. And you are everything. Tamino, honey, Captain Beer and Billy Bud. I just want to say that in a year, I would love to be making a debut of one of those, okay? What I would love for this community to look like, our opera community needs to reflect the communities that we live in. We need to look on stage and see ourselves. So Lanisha, you were talking about wanting to be seen earlier. I was talking to my mom. I'm adopted. My mom is white. And I was talking to her about, Mom, how important it is that I'm watching this commercial and I am seeing someone who looks like me, that I'm watching this TV show and I'm seeing this person that looks like me, or, it's a representation of all of the beautiful colors that make up who we are as a family, as a community. Opera has always been about the voice first, but somewhere we have lost that. We've said, oh, it's about the voice, but then all of a sudden it's, you have to look a certain way, you have to look like, you have to look a certain way, your skin has to look a certain way, your weight has to look a certain way. If you are gender nonconforming, you have to express yourself in a certain way. And we've just gotten away from what the root of we've continually preached is. Let's talk about the talent, regardless of what that person looks like. Let's talk about their storytelling ability. So I'm hoping, my dearest and sincerest wish is that in a year, we will not be looking at rosters of young artists and wonder, where are the people of color? We are not looking at a production and wondering, where are the people? There is one person of color in the 90 people on that stage. You have 2 or 3. I'm hoping in a year that these are questions that we are all having asked, and they are being answered in a way, that we have seen a really great example of.
Yeah, I agree.
You, Dave. That's so beautiful.
Kiki.
This is why David is our president. I don't know if y'all know that, but he's representing all of us, for all of our endeavors here. But for myself, where I see myself in a year is just to be in a better place than I am now. I just want to grow. I want, I can hear my voice, see my voice doing these amazing things. And I just want to push it the way that I know that I can push my voice. Mm-hmm. What I want to see in opera is innovation. Just like fashion, and I heard this the other day on one of my directors, Dr. Michael Muhammad, he did a panel, and they said, why doesn't opera invite their audiences to be updated as in fashion or other genres? Fashion, you change the season. It's a different season, and it's a different look every season. And then like every autumn, there's a different look. Why don't we do that in opera? And when I heard that, I said, yes. Why do we let our audiences determine what we put on the stage? We hear all the time, oh, well, the donors love La Boheme. The donors love Le Nozze. Who cares? They're going to love whatever we put on the stage because we're putting out art. And I think that's where we lost the connection, that we're all artists. We're not just musicians, we're artists. We have to do so many things that curate our art. So I want to see opera be more innovative.
Speak.
Thank you, Jazz. Edwin. Come on, Pastor.
Wait a minute.
Come on, Pastor.
Okay. Hear me? To be completely honest, I want to see some Black people in positions of power, and not people who are tokenized Black people who only know how to appease the white gaze. I want people who, like you, who are able to acknowledge that there is talent out there that looks like all of us. I'm skinny and tall with the voice the size of a Mack truck, but and I would not be looked at to be staged as in half of the roles that I desire to sing because of my size. But the voice is there, the desire is there, the talent is there. I want to see people who look like me, who actually identify as Black, who are along the spectrum of Blackness, who acknowledge their Blackness for all that it is, and are able. I look at in Dallas, I look at Afton Battle, I'm like, okay, we have a saying, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and that's true. And that goes for people who are supposed to be our mentors too. I want to see people who look like me, who are able to help encourage change, because we are the singers. We're being the finalized product that's being seen on the stage. I want people who are behind the stage, who are also looking out for my best interest at heart. In a year, God knows I want to be in the Lindemann program at the Metropolitan Opera. been wanting to be there for years. So if somebody's listening, you know, go on and slide me an audition. But that's where I really want to be. You know, that's where I've been wanting to be for some time now, ever since I decided to commit to this thing. And I also just want to give thanks again to you. And I forgot to acknowledge Kenny Overton and Louis Salimno, who was formerly with WNO and is now at Maryland Lyric. They have both been helpful, extremely helpful. You know, Kenny has always made recommendations to somebody. I'm always getting random emails from somebody saying, Kenneth Overton mentioned your name. I'm contacting you for X, Y, and Z. So I'm definitely thankful for that. And Louis Salimno, you know, from Maryland Lyric Opera, this man has seen the best of the best and coached the best of the best. And for him to have told me out of his own mouth, you know, this man has worked with anybody you can think of, out of his own mouth, you are one of the most incredible talents I've ever met in my entire life. And you, no matter what, deserve to be out there. Everybody deserves to hear you. And I'm thankful for that, because this is a man who does not look like me, who came from a cultural background that's nowhere near mine, but he was able to see me and to see what I had to offer and believe in that. And I'm thankful for it.
Yes. Yay.
To be at in a year, so I kind of want to say that.
Go ahead.
And the Lindemann, yes, I applied as well. So, you know, look out for Lanisha Crump, Soprano.
Listen.
David Morgan Sanchez tenor too, honey.
There's a lyric off of Chicago. I mean, there's so many wonderful programs. Houston has got a lot going on, so you just never know. Or be on the stage singing. How about that in a career with management, ready to work, not being in a young artist program, you know, getting out there and doing the thing. Because I don't think that the young artist program is for everybody. Some people need to get out there and figure out the thing, you know. But anyway, Russell said he wants to be running the young artist program at the Met.
We'll be knocking on your door, Russell. Somebody knocking at your door. It's us.
I just want to thank you guys all for coming on the show. It's been tremendous. You have inspired me and uplift me and make me want to cry every time I'm in your presence. Thank you to Stu for nudging me and saying, put them on the show. I'm like, I will. Calm down. I will. She was like, you know, put them on the show. And so
Sue always takes care of us. Thank you, Sue. Shout out to Sue.
We love and yeah, when y'all get big and famous, don't forget to come back and sing for Sue in Portland. At a good rate. You know what I mean? You know, but anyway, shout out to Daniel for helping us, you know, get everything together today, and Laura at a Portland Opera, and Damien. We mentioned Damien a couple times, and thank you all for tuning in. As usual, my regulars and some new people, as I always say, please share these videos. They make their way around, and the tremendous response that we get, and artists as well get from people who watch it is amazing. So next week, we will be back with a composer next week. My other favorites. I love composers, as many people know. And I won't say who it is yet because it's really cool. But anyway, thank you all.
Also, shout out Joe Williams. Joe Williams is here with us. Yeah. He's here. He's a coach that they've...
She froze. But yes, I'm going to have Joe separate come on and talk. What happened? They froze. Anyway. Y'all have a good night. Thank you for coming. I love y'all. And y'all stay on. Don't go. I'll talk to you guys soon. See you next week.
We love you too.
Oh, bye, everybody.